is Susan, and today I'm going to talk about body language and communication. And some of these things you maybe have heard before, and for some of you who never even touched this subject or studied, this is very interesting and very good to know. It's about how you level with other people, how you, if they listen to your communication, if they like you, if someone is interested in you. But that is not the main purpose with this topic, of course, because we're still at the Light at the Center channel. I'm also going to teach you about things you probably have not heard about before, but that is very, very important. And that is how we affect each other even when we're not in the same physical space. And what happens when we interact with each other, not only in the physical space, but even, as I said, when we're not even in the same physical space. So stick around. I will start addressing some of the most interesting basic things when it comes to body language. First of all, how do you know if someone is focused on you? How do you know if someone is focused on anyone? And what I mean by focused on, I mean the most important person at the moment. And this is something you can detect when you are in the same physical space. So if you are a group of people, can be few, can be many, you can actually, by just observing, see which of the people in the room connects with one another. And you can see if they are connected to you, you can see which people are connected to each other, as I said, or however it goes. What is everyone thinking about? And how can you observe this with your physical eyes? Because if we are focused on someone, and it can be numerous reasons why we are focused on someone, it's not just that we are romantically interested in someone or we find someone attractive or interesting. It can be we find someone fascinating. For some reason, we find someone fascinating or inspiring. Or it can be a friend who feels very comforting, that you feel the most close to in the given space that you're currently in. But for one reason or another, you lean to this person at this moment, right now. What you do is that you mimic the other person's body language. That means that if you are sitting down or if you're standing up, no matter how that person that you're focused on is keeping their body, you will kind of adapt to do the same. And it goes the other way as well. But let's say this is a person who is speaking and you are very engaged in this talk or whatever, then you will be the one copying the person who is speaking. But more interesting is, I think, in a room, because you can see which people are connected by how they match each other. So this goes both for if someone is really interested in you or for whatever reason they are leaning to you. You will mimic the body language. And the most interesting part of this, you will be totally unaware that this is what you're doing. You will be totally unaware of it. Back in the days when I learned this, I wanted to try it out. I wanted to know if a guy in a room was interested in me. So I decided to take the most weird posture that I could think about. So I knew I did something weird with my hands. Like, you can lean on the table like this. You can sit, like, do whatever, like in different ways. I know I did something particularly weird that you wouldn't normally sit like at a table. And lo and behold, I waited for a given minute, and that guy was sitting in the exact same weird way. So this is actually an interesting skill to be aware of, because you kind of know which people are actually leaning to you and taking an interest in you. So let's say that you are in a group with, I don't know, some people you may not trust, some people who may be insincere. An insincere person who doesn't wish you well will never copy your body language. They will never do that. Unless they're very devious, they will not do that. So, but the people who actually likes you, who are genuine, they will. Next little tip and tricks. Some people, when you engage in conversation with another person, you may be standing up and you're talking with them. And if you are a bit unsure about the socialness and how you're supposed to interact, am I talking too much? Am I talking too little? Is the other person even interested in what I have to say? If the other person is interested in conversation, they will be directing themselves towards you. That is that if you're standing up, you will look at their feet, and their feet will be directed towards you. Their body will be directed towards you. But if they are losing interest, most likely they are in a hurry and they need to go, or for whatever reason they wish to disengage. And it doesn't have to be because they don't want to listen to you. As I said, they can be in a hurry, right? We all know that. Their feet will go like this. One of their feet will be heading in another direction. So if you're aware of body language and you're speaking with someone and you look at their feet and you see this happening, it's time to round up. And they will really appreciate you and like you if you do that. It's time to round up. Another way, of course, but this way is more unpolite, and most people, they don't do this. It's when you start disengaging with your eyes. You start looking at that door, because that is conceived as unpolite. We normally don't do that, but we do this with our feet. So if you want to be nice to your friend, just watch their feet and go with that. And let's now talk about when someone is really interested in you, and the most obvious signs that people do when they're really interested in someone. I think it's impossible to miss these signs. So you really, you will see these signs. And if someone is really interested in something, what we do when we're interested in something is that we direct our focus to that object. And this goes, even if it's not a romantic interest, we're gonna be looking at the thing that is having our focus. So if we are liking another person, we will do like this with our eyes constantly towards that object. So you see this when you've seen this, right? When you know that someone is interested in another person and you see they going like this to the other table, right? But we do this with everything that has our focus. If you're waiting for your friend to show up and you know he or she is going to enter through that door and you're in a conversation, maybe you're still looking at the door because you're waiting for your friend to arrive. That is a way, so when you're conversing with someone, you know that they're waiting for their friend, and how much they're waiting for their friend actually depends on how much they are looking at that door. And another way, an extreme example would be the police is after you and you have hid something in your room. Whatever, you've taken something, you hid it away, a secret. And the detective comes in and say, "Do you have anything to hide?" And you say, no. And then you're looking. And where you're looking is probably where you have hid that stuff. And a good police detective knows body language. So if someone does that, "No, I'm innocent," and they look at some direction, there's where you're going to look. So we determine this now. So if someone is interested in you or you're interested in them, you're going to look at that person. The next thing you're going to do is that you're going to try to turn all your body towards that person. So if you don't have the possibility right now to be close to that person, or you don't want to reveal your feelings, you're still going to move your body towards that person. You're going to move your feet so they're pointing to that person. So notice this if you are in a group and someone is interested in someone in the group, but they can't just go straight to that person. It's not a friend, it's maybe a romantic interest, as I said. Their feet gonna be pointing towards that person. It's very interesting. And the next is you want to be close to that person in every sense you can. So you don't want any objects between you and the other person. So even if you're in a room with space between you, it's gonna be maybe both parties is trying to get rid of objects, so it's clear sight. And if you're sitting next to a person, you're going to remove all objects. So if you are having glasses or something, you don't want it in the way. You're going to remove it. Just I was going to say a cat on a table who just clears it. You want to clear the space. And you're going to want to be closer to the person. So you notice this if someone is talking to you, and even if you have nothing to talk about, you're still going to linger. You're still going to fiddle with words. You're still going to be there. You're not going to hang up when you're talking. It's you can't disengage. You want to be close for whatever reason. And what you also going to notice is that you're going to be relaxed. I was going to say in an unusual way, because you're going to be relaxed, you're going to be smiling a lot, and you're going to be more exposing yourself. So instead of wanting to disengage from a person and being scared and doing like this, you're going to want to be relaxed and be close to. You're also going to notice that someone can fiddle their hair or fiddle something they're doing because they're actually wanting to touch you. And the most easiest sign in the world, if someone likes you and if you want to find out, simply lean a bit closer to them, whatever the situation is. Because normally, and most of these body language cues we're giving off, we have no idea we're giving off them. We think that we are completely poker face, right? Try to lean a bit closer to them. Because if this would be a normal situation, even with a friend, a neighbor, or God forbid, a stranger, if you lean closer, they're gonna back. So the same space is going to be kept. So if you do something weird and move too close to someone, you're gonna back. And some people, they have difficulty with this personal space. You notice yourself taking distance as they approach because you want your space. But if someone likes you, they're not gonna back off. So even if you lean closer, they're not gonna lean away. And that, I think, is the most easiest sign of all the signs, if you want to find out quickly. So, why have we been talking about this? It's interesting stuff, but why? Okay, one more before I continue, actually. If you see someone is anxious, someone is not trying to avoid you, like the obvious sign is you lean closer and they lean back, or they just tense, they want to get away. When someone is anxious, maybe they want to say something to you, but they can't say it. This is very normal. You put your hand behind your back, almost like you would say, oh, I want to say it, but I can't. I want to say it. This is, I'm anxious. I want to express something, but I can't. I'm in a conflict, an emotional conflict, or self-soothing. But they are there, but they can't. They can't. I'm trying to, but I can't. So, now I want to get into why are we having this discussion? What does this mean? I said that we sync with a person that we're focused on. And then, of course, if we really like someone, we want to get closer. And if we don't like something, we want to remove ourselves from the object. No mystery there. But what does this mean? I want you to look at this picture. This shows what happens that in the beginning we have a lot of different objects. And they're all moving. And they're vibing. They're listening to their individual drums. But see how quickly they all start to sync with each other. They are syncing. And just like you do the same when you focus on a person, it has been revealed in science that we do the same with each other, the person we're focusing on, even if we're not in the same physical space. This is called network theory, and it basically discloses how a group, a network of people are influencing each other, even as I said, we're not in the same physical space. They did the comparison with a mushroom root system that actually works pretty much the same. And they noticed that some people will be key figures in this network. They will be very connected. And very connected means not only that you know a lot of people, it means also that there is a lot of resources coming and going to and fro with you. So you are like a hub. Everyone wants to be close to that. And it has a lot of influence in the network system overall. It's like the main reason for that network. And how we affect each other in a network like this is fascinating. Because all the way from the most important person in the network, you could also see how alive the network was. And they noticed things like if a person starts to get depressed, they start to sever connections and they know less and less and less people until they end up in the periphery, not connected to anyone. It was the same with the mushroom system. If a single mushroom couldn't get enough nutrition to nourish the whole system, if it wasn't doing a good job, then eventually the whole network was starting to sever contact with it. So it's like either everyone lives, or if someone is not really alive and participating, it starts to disengage from the group. So all this has, of course, very, very, very important implications, what that means, and why we need to be connected with each other. But what's most fascinating about this is that the person that you most focused on in the network, even if the person is not physically here with you, will affect you. Like that sync. But even if your friend has a friend and you haven't even met that friend will have an effect on you just because you are connected the way you do. What they noticed was that for one reason, like if someone decided to quit smoking, yeah, I'm gonna quit smoking. It started a ripple effect. So anyone else who was thinking maybe I should quit smoking suddenly felt I should quit smoking. And suddenly you have a bunch of people in the same network quitting smoking. And if someone decided to take a chance and start a job they always dreamed about but never dared to, or start a project they always wanted to but never dared to, suddenly everyone in the system who are in those vibes are starting to feel, it's time to do that change I always dreamed about. But the same goes for not so positive things, like if someone used to exercise regularly and they start to slack with that, then it also affects the other people in the network connected to that person. Suddenly they are not as motivated. Suddenly, for some reason, they wake up that morning and they don't want to go out and take a run. Today I think I skip it. And they have no idea that their friend's friend skipped their exercise also some days earlier. This also leads to weird effects that I think you have been noticing, but please tell me in the comments. Have you noticed that maybe if you have been down for certain days or a week, whatever, and you suddenly feel a bit more optimistic and positive, and suddenly your friend starts calling you? What is affecting what here? Because according to this, when you lift yourself up, you actually motivate other people also. So it gets a double effect, because let's say that they were not as down as you were. They were really maybe communicating with other people, and you didn't lift up in the network because you were not on the radar, because you were a bit down. And then you are up again. Not only are you lit up on the radar, oh, I can contact that person. It seems like there's someone here in the network that I should be contacting. But it also becomes the ripple effect. So you're actually now triggering them to want to contact and communicate more. So therefore, this naturally happens so quickly. If you have been down and then you lift up and then the communication starts. But I'm going to take it even one step further, because surely now you're starting to map out your network group and you start thinking about, what did Peter do that other week, and what did Maria do, and what happened, and how did that affect me, and have I affected my friends here? You're all doing this work right now. I'm going to take it one step further. One step further is that scientists have also noticed that just by observing another human being who does something, it can transform things within you. In this example, it was about, can you build muscles by just watching athletes? The answer is yes, you can do that. And I think that the theory made sense. In this case, it was bicycling. So there was a test group, and this group was already aware that tomorrow you will actually be doing the same bicycle tour. I think it was a very strenuous exercise, so you would actually have to climb mountains with your bike, so you have to be in good shape. But they just watched people doing this tour, and they watched them intensely, imagining that tomorrow this will be me, tomorrow I will have to do this, how will this feel in my body? I can see myself, I can feel myself bicycling up this steep hill. I can see it, I can feel it. And lo and behold, they actually saw that the body had started producing muscles just by imagining that. And this is a phenomena I have noticed myself, not only in this regard, and I know I saw another study. And this study, they compared a group of people that was about to do the exact same task. I don't remember the task. It was some kind of skill set that they were about to be doing. And half of this group got to watch people doing this task in a very skillful way. They didn't learn, they didn't get information on how you should do it. It was just about watching someone perform, doing something in a very skillful way. And the same result there. They noticed that the group who had been imprinted by just watching people doing something in a very skillful way performed better than those who had not done this. I'm now going to call it imprint. The weird effect when you kind of just watch someone do something, and it's like your body learn by just absorbing what the other person is doing. I noticed this, that if someone is very good at a certain subject, whatever it is, I can sort of emote with that person. If you're very good in this science or whatever you're good at, I can get that person almost like their energy structure, whatever it is, it's just absorbed. And for as long as I am focused on that person, talk about mimicking that person, it's almost like I talk, I think, I can understand what that other human being is doing. And I can do the same for as long as that effect lasts. I noticed this when I have read books with certain authors. If you would read Shakespeare and he writes in a very particular way, the same rhyme and verse, for some reason, if I'm very focused on about what I'm reading, I start to write in the same way, or communicate or express myself, or even think in the same way. And it can be even annoying and very weird, but I also think, this could make me very famous. Let's pretend I'm Shakespeare. No, because it's such a weird effect, but it really sticks with me. So if you combine that these kind of things is possible, then not only are we affected if people's moods go up and down, but also on how well they are in doing certain tasks. I often find myself thinking about that if I want to do something I haven't done before, or if I want to focus on my company, or if I want to go in a retreat or something like that, it can be less inspiring if I just stay in the same place and I try to put my inspiration and mind to it. I'm not as engaged, I'm not as inspired, motivated. But if I go to a place where a lot of like startup companies is hanging around, and there's a lot of like skillful, hungry people who are super creative and engaged, I find myself becoming better at what I'm about to do. And it cannot only be explained that here you have the skill set, they can actually explain how you're going to do things. It's the vibe, it's the motivation, it's the inspiration. And if I want to do a retreat, sure, I could just lock myself in my house for a weekend. But I don't find it as effective as going to another retreat with like-minded people who are in the same mindset. And a lot of these phenomena I also explained in when you build up certain cultures or relationships and certain energy vibes, they become a potent force in themselves. So a lot of how we build common energy and how we affect and influence each other is very important. I talked about this in the feminine function. I talked about Emoto's water experiment. Then how our feelings and our attitudes affect the water. We can see it directly. How our particular vibe is vibing everyone around us. And imagine that. And imagine the network you're connected to. Even if you are where you are now and you're not together with your friends, they are still affected by what you're doing today. So, what are your thoughts about this? Have you noticed some of the phenomena that I have been describing? Have you noticed that in your life, even if you have no idea why it works like that? And do you think that this could be an explanation and that this makes sense? What do you think about this? And are you going to now be very aware of your own network and what's going on and how they're affecting you and how you are affecting them? And can this be of help? Could this actually affect that if I motivate people to have better lives, motivate the people around me to have better lives, to be more happy, to maybe engage them and inspire them to move forward in whatever skill set they have, will that not also then affect me? It certainly will, right? So, that is all for today. Another topic next week. And please let me know what you're thinking about this topic in the comments. And subscribe if you haven't not yet already. See you next week. Bye bye.